Hey guys, it's Olivia here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm so excited because I'm here to give you my Australian book haul. So while I was in Australia, I was still on my year-long buying ban, so I didn't actually buy any of these books myself, but lots of publishers and lots of you guys were really nice to me, so thank you, and I can't wait to talk about these books because I'm so excited. I've read a few of them as well. So first of all, we have Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi, and this was gifted to me by Madison from Madison Green. She is a great booktuber and a good friend of mine, so thank you so much, Madison, for getting this for me for my birthday, because that's one I really wanted, but I was on my buying ban, and I read it and I loved it. In the first book, we find out that we're in this world where magic no longer exists. It was killed out by this king who is reigning over the land and is abusing a minority who used to have magic. But there is a chance that magic could come back, and it falls to this one girl to maybe change the paths of everything. It's such a good series, I definitely recommend, and I just loved this sequel so much. Then I was kindly sent 2 books by Sydney from Sydney Stories, so thank you so much, Sydney, as well. Again, another good friend of mine, and she got me A Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, which is very shiny, and I'm currently reading this now, if you can't see that bookmark there. So I can't really tell you much what it's about because I kind of wanted to go in knowing nothing, seeing as I loved this author's debut novel so much, and all I know is that we live in this world where books come to life and they have their own consciousness and they are very, very dangerous. There's magicians who live in this world as well, sorcerers I believe, and everybody thinks they're very evil and dangerous and should not be messed with. We have our main character Elizabeth, who is a 16-year-old girl who wants to become a warden, who basically looks after the books and protects them, but when something happens she has to pair up with a sorcerer so that they can do something. I think it's a quest, I don't really know, I didn't want to know too much, which is why I don't really know. She also got me Rebel by Mary Lou, and this one is a continuation spin-off series to the Legend series by Mary Lou, which I absolutely raced through and really enjoyed. So in this one we follow Day's younger brother, and he is in Antarctica, and that's all I know. I really don't look at synopses when it's a spin-off of a series that I like or by an author who I like the other book, just because I want to go in knowing as little as possible and be surprised. And then I entered Jenna Lee's giveaway and I won 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I'm glad I finally won this one because it means I can finally get to my copies of Crooked Kingdom and King of Scars, because I totally bought this series out of order. All I know about this book is that it has a wonderful array of characters who are underdogs and not actually the ones you should be rooting for, and they are trying to pull off a heist together. It's still set in the Grishaverse, not sure about where in the timeline, but again, it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun and I'm hoping to read it in April. Then, while I was in Australia, I made a connection with Bloomsbury Publishing and they very kindly sent me quite a few review copies, so let's talk about those books. And the first of which that they sent me was A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Bridget Kemmerer. This is just, it meant so much to me because I read and absolutely loved A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which I buddy read with Jade from Jaded Reader. Bloomsbury Australia came through for me and I read this book in December. It made my favourites of 2019 list and I have not stopped shouting about this series. I absolutely adore it. It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling series and it starts in the first book where we follow Wren and Harper. Wren is a prince who is cursed to turn into a beast every season, and he can only break the curse by falling in love with this girl, a girl. However, it's not really working out for him and he sends his guard over to the real world, because he lives in a fantasy world, to kidnap a girl to come back and see if it will go well. He ends up trying to kidnap someone else, ending up with Harper, and that's the way this story begins. Just goes from there and it's absolutely fantastic. Then they also sent me the entire miniature edition of the Throne of Glass series, and I have been reading them and feeling some type of way about them, but mostly good. I have my review thoughts for Throne of Glass up in a video where we play Ember of Ashes and also discuss 5 reasons to read the book. I've read Crown of Midnight and Heir of Fire, and you'll see my thoughts of Heir of Fire in my March wrap up. I still need to get to Queen of Shadows, The Assassin's Blade, Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn and Kingdom of Ash. Quite a big series, but I actually really love these cute little miniature editions. Next up we have the illustrated edition of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. If you're new to this channel, we know how I feel about Harry Potter around here and it's not too positive, but I will look through the pictures and then probably find a home for this for someone who's going to love it more than me, but thank you Bloomsbury for sending it my way. Then Bloomsbury asked me if I do read middle grade, and I in fact do, but I try to stick to only diverse middle grade, and they sent me Some Places More Than Others by Renee Watson and also The Space We're In by Katya Balin, both of which were new favourites for me at 5 stars, so Bloomsbury definitely did very well with giving these ones to me. So Some Places More Than Others follows this young girl, and she has a project to learn more about her family. She has a sister on the way, and she also wants to go to New York with her dad to just explore the city. However, she finds out that her dad and her granddad don't talk anymore, and they stopped talking on the day she was born, so she feels like she could have something to do with it. And when her dad agrees to take her to New York with him, she wants to try and get them to reconcile their friendship, their camaraderie. I really liked how this was such a celebration of Black history and Black culture and Black themes, and if I grew up with this book I would have been so happy. And then we have to talk about The Space We're In by Katya Balin, which was an emotional turmoil of a read for me. In this one we follow Frank, who is this 10-year-old boy, and he has a younger brother called Max who is severely autistic. Max can't deal with certain colours, foods, textures, sounds, so the whole family is kind of catered towards caring for Max, but Frank as an older brother still has needs and also needs attention too. The mum is a stay-at-home mum, and you see her very frazzled by needing to care for her son all the time, and then the dad is off at work. However, tragedy strikes the family, and it's about them trying to deal and cope with that. It was a phenomenal book. It's beautifully written, it's got some lovely illustrations, and after the halfway point I was an emotional mess throughout the whole thing. Something happy happened, I was an emotional mess. Something sad happened, I was an emotional mess. It was just all over the place. Definitely recommend this one. In January and February I went through my non-fiction phase, and that's when they sent me A Woman Like Her by Sanam Meher, and then also Rage Against the Machine, which is by Robert Elliott Smith. So A Woman Like Her follows this beauty YouTuber who was Muslim and talking a lot about beauty standards and feminism, and she was killed by her family members because they said that she was bringing shame on the family. And then this one is all about AI, technology, and where we're going in the future, whether there's a good thing or a bad thing, we don't know. So this one sounds like it's going to be very emotional when I get to it. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also trying to be in a good place before I read it, because I know I'm going to feel angry and I know I'm going to feel emotional. And then this one, I'm also reading it because of my writing project, which involves AI and technology, so I've been reading quite a few of that, and I'm looking forward to getting to this to help me with my writing. So those are 2 books. And then the last one sent to me by Bloomsbury is A Guinea Pig's Nutcracker, which is just a cute little picture book about guinea pigs retelling the story of Nutcracker. It was so adorable. Okay, right before I left I started to form a connection with Macmillan Australia, and I would like to talk about the 4 books that they sent me. So the first one they sent me was The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow, and this was a book I was very excited to read. As anything Jane Austen inspired, I am so intrigued by. This one follows Mary Bennet, who is the last sibling to be in the Bennet house but unmarried, and she is trying to find her own romantic story and her own happy ending. I did talk about this one in my March wrap-up, so if you want more of my thoughts on the book, please do head over there. They also gifted me The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Hargrave, which is a witchy trials book which is set in the past in Norway and Finland, and it's about these 2 women who are caught up as these men try to find all the witches in their small little village. I again talked about this one more in my March wrap-up, so if you want to hear about the past 2 books, that's where you really need to be. After this video, of course. On the day that I left Australia, The Sin Eater by Megan Campisi came through, and it's an absolutely beautiful book, and it follows this character who lives in this world where she commits a crime and she has been deemed as the village's sin eater. They are exiled from the town and they eat the sins of the town. That's what I have heard about this book, and she gets to hear everybody's sins, I believe, and when she's doing that she figures out there's a bigger conspiracy underlying this community than she expected. That's what I've gotten from it so far. I am very much intrigued and looking forward to giving it a go. And lastly, Unsolicited, they sent me Ember Queen by Laura Sebastian. I do want to mention that it's unsolicited because I have not read Ash Princess or Lady Smoke and I do not own them. I'm now in a non-English speaking country, so I don't know when I will be able to get to them, but I will at some point and try this series because it was on my radar, but I just haven't had the chance to go on that journey yet. Next up, I would like to talk about some books that were gifted to me by friends of mine, and the first is Beloved by Toni Morrison, which was gifted to me by Faye. Faye is a good friend of mine and we kind of bonded while I was in Australia, but they also go to my university. They feature in my 5 Reasons to Read Throne of Glass feat playing Ember of Ashes video, so definitely check that out if you want to put a face to the name. But yes, they got me Beloved for my birthday. Again, I didn't read up too much on this one, but I know it's set in the mid-1800s and it follows this couple who are about to have their whole world torn apart, especially as a tragedy occurs to them. And that's all I know, and that's all I want to know because I haven't read a Toni Morrison book before, but I know that I need to. Then we have No Friend But the Mountain by Beirut's Buchani, and this was gifted to me by the au pair family I worked for, as it was my 21st birthday when I was with them. And this is a non-fiction that follows Beirut's himself. It's an autobiography and it's about him as he attempts to enter Australia as an immigrant, is not denied entry, but is just straight away placed in a detainment prison, and it's about his life there and his experiences and the abuse that all of the prisoners receive in those conditions. It was a hard-hitting book and it melded prose and poetry very well to tell this story. There were so many aspects of it that I really did enjoy, and I'll link the correct wrap-up. I believe it's my February wrap-up where I talk about this one more. It might be my January wrap-up. Who knows? And then last but not least, we have Stories from Arendelle, a Frozen story. These were gifted to me by the 3-year-old child that I was looking after as an au pair. He got home from school that day and he gave me this book. He'd gone to the free little library because he knew that I loved reading and chosen out a book to give me on my departure day, and that was the sweetest thing ever. So thank you, Clancy. Then we have 2 indie authors who sent me their books for review. The first one is Odells Fooled by Norman Backle, and I've already read this and talked about this in another wrap-up, but I rated this one 5 stars. It's an Othello retelling set in the modern day and set in a law firm. I feel like it did a very good job of retelling the story of Othello and keeping the familiar storylines, tropes and elements to the book while also taking it in a new direction and making it entirely its own, so it was unpredictable. It was such a good thriller. I was excited all the way through and I just needed to know where this book was going to go. So good. I will again link my review also on my blog for that too. And then I also had That Asian Kid by Savita Kalan, and I have another review for this on my blog. It is set in a secondary school and it follows our Indian protagonist who is used to getting good grades, but there is this one English teacher who gives him bad grades and he believes that she is racist and nobody else quite believes him. But when he's walking in the woods one day, he finds that teacher doing something compromising and he films it on his camera. He then has the important decision that he has to make for himself, whether he should expose his teacher and maybe get her fired, or if he should continue to bear the brunt of this racism that nobody else believes is happening except for himself. It was a very good exploration of racism and how it might manifest in the modern day in other ways, and what it's like with the teacher-child dynamic. I feel like it did that very well, and we've got some very good discussions of representation going on here too. And then last but not least, we have 3 books that I had to buy for modules this year. Buying ban, required reading for uni doesn't count. The first is The Art of Fiction by David Lodge, and I had to buy this for my short story writing class. I've read snippets of it because we just have to read different chapters every week out of order, but I have heard that this is one lots of writers say is so beneficial to them, so I'm actually glad I have it, and for every chapter that I read I learn something new about writing that I think is actually quite key to know, so I do recommend it and I do think it's going to help me with my writing a lot. Then we have Australian poetry, and this is just a big anthology that has been composed by John Kinsella, and I do like Australian poetry so far what I've read of it, and I need to read most of this big chunk for class, so we'll see how that goes. And last but not least, we have Joe Kinquay's Constellation by Helen Garner, which I have already talked about extensively in my March wrap-up, so I'll leave it there. It wasn't quite one for me. It's a true crime based on this horrific crime that happened in Australia, and it was quite a shock to read about and learn about, but yeah, don't quite recommend it, but I do recommend finding out more about the case. Whew! There we have it. Those are the 30 books that I got while I was in Australia. Please let me know in the comment section down below, what is the latest book you have bought, received or acquired recently. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior! In this one we follow... Then... let's just organise this. I still need to get to Queen of Shadows, The Assassin's Braid, so rude, I'm trying to film here. I didn't even count, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.